in this election. Now, change comes when we live up to this country's legacy of innovation. You know, I'm very proud that I bet on American workers and the American auto industry, but I'm not just proud because we're building cars, I'm proud because we're building better cars. Cars that by the middle of the next decade will go twice as far on a gallon of gas. That helps our economy, that helps your pocketbook, it helps our national security, it helps our environment. But we don't want to just stop innovating there. There are thousands of workers today building long-lasting batteries and wind turbines and solar panels all across the country. And I want to make sure, instead of giving subsidies to oil company profits, I want to support the energy jobs of tomorrow. The new technology that will cut our oil imports in half. I want to stop giving tax breaks to companies that reward companies that are shipping jobs overseas. Reward companies that are investing here in America, in the next generation of manufacturing. That's how we grow an economy. That's how we create jobs. That's what I see for Colorado. That's what I see for our future. Change, real change, is turning the page on a decade of war so we can do some nation building here at home. Now, as long as I'm Commander-in-Chief, we will pursue our enemies with the strongest military the world's ever known. But it's time to use the savings from ending 2 wars to pay down our debt. Rebuilding America, repairing roads and bridges, making sure our schools are state-of-the-art, putting people back to work right now, especially our veterans, because anybody who has fought for our freedom should not have to fight for a job or a roof over their heads, or the care that they need, or the benefits they've earned when they come home. That's how we keep ourselves strong, by keeping our commitment to those who sacrifice so much. And that's also what's at stake in this election. And change is a future where we reduce our deficits in a balanced, responsible way. You know, I've signed $1 trillion worth of spending cuts. I intend to do more. But if we're serious about reducing our deficit, we can't just cut our way to prosperity. There are some things we need to do to make sure we grow and put people back to work. And that means we've got to ask the wealthiest Americans to go back to the tax rates they paid when Bill Clinton was in office. Now, the reason is because budgets are priorities. They reflect our values. I am not going to kick a kid off the Head Start so I can get a tax break. I don't need it. As long as I'm president, I will not turn Medicare into a voucher just to pay for another millionaire's tax cut. That's not true to who we are. And that's not how we grow an economy. So Colorado, we know what real change is. We know what the future requires. And by the way, we also know it won't be easy. Now, back in 2008, we talked about change. But I wasn't just talking about changing presidents. I wasn't just talking about changing parties. I was talking about change in how we run our politics. I ran because the voices of the American people, your voices, had been shut out of our democracy for way too long by the lobbyists and the special interests, the politicians who will say anything and do anything just to keep things the way they are. The protectors of the status quo. And you know, the status quo in Washington is fierce, and it has fought us every step of the way. They spent millions of dollars to try to stop us from reforming health care. Millions of dollars trying to stop us from reforming Wall Street. They engineered a strategy of gridlock in Congress, refusing to compromise, even on ideas that in the past both Democrats and Republicans agreed on. That's why we've got Republicans opposed to a health care plan that started as a Republican idea, implemented by a Republican governor. And what they're counting on now is that you're going to be so worn down by all the squabbling, so tired of all the dysfunction, just fed up, that you give up.